Welcome to Red versus Blue with Scott and Andrew, episode number 2. If you're joining us again, thanks for listening to episode 1. We are here to debate political issues, sometimes religious issues. I am on the right in Texas as a Christian conservative. Scott is on the left in California as a God-hating liberal. Scott, welcome aboard, my man.
Oh, thanks, Andrew. I appreciate it. That's a very generous introduction.
You're welcome. So what's been going on?
Oh, well, just preparing for our debates, right? Gun control, healthcare.
Yeah.
If you stay tuned, you can find, all the best answers to both of those most important of issues.
Right here. The best answers will be right here on my side.
right, coming out of this side, right here.
Yeah, this side. Well, that's cool, man. I'm really excited. Got a bunch of stuff coming up on this show. We've got the debates, obviously, and then your new special section is getting unveiled.
That's right.
That's going to be exciting. We've got a guest caller this time. Next week will be our first guest person on the show, right?
That's right.
That's going to be Brian Simpson. He's got his own podcast, BS with Brian Simpson. And what did you say his
Twitter handle is Short Wide Neck.
Short Wide Neck. Man, he's been going by that for a long time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it comes from one of his early jokes. One of his early great jokes that he still uses.
Oh, really? What was the joke?
Oh, well, I don't know. Maybe he could tell it tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
I know the joke, but I would screw it up. So.
Yeah, that's true. And then he'll have to tell it again, and I'll be like, oh, Scott told that horribly. Yeah. So, okay, so like we said, we've got 2 debates, and that's how we're going to kind of structure the show from here on out, right? Is just have 2 topics that we try to talk about for 15 minutes apiece, just so we don't, like, beat a dead horse on one topic.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I suppose we can always change it up if we feel like it, but we're obviously going to be talking about politics and really religion as it relates to politics, which it frequently does.
Yeah, it ties in quite a bit. Oh, you know what? Before we move on, I did forget to say we were playing our intro music. We played it in the last show. It's also our outro music. I like it because I made it. It took me about 20 minutes, but we are looking for some really cool intro music that we can use. I'm sure down in the future, down the road, maybe we can get a commercial license to use, popular music on the show. But for right now, I try to use royalty-free stuff. So if anybody is listening and you are a musician, you have your own music that you'd like to be heard on a different platform, you can send it here to redvbluepodcast@gmail.com. We'll play your music as our intro and outro. For free, of course, and you will get plugged. You'll have your music heard by 7 people, and they may be able to send that music on to someone else. So, yeah, send us your stuff, and we'll put it on the show. That was it, Scott. You can.
Yeah, well, I just got to second what Andrew said. Send us your music.
Man, dude, you are the greatest backup in.
Backup? What?
Oh, I knew saying that was going to get a reaction. That was awesome. So is there anything that has been on your mind the past week that you want to do, kind of talk about or bring up, that's not directly related to what we're going to be debating or discussing?
Well, I don't know if you heard about today's news.
Oh, God.
About Paul Manafort pleading guilty. He's the 5th member of Trump's campaign to plead guilty to criminal charges. They've all been talking to Russia. They've all been doing all of the things that you would expect if there was actual collusion between his campaign and the Russian government. So he's a puppet.
Yeah.
What do you think?
You know what? I don't follow that as much as I should. I mean, I'm aware of it. I wasn't aware of what you just said, the news today, but it's one of those things where I'm sometimes I suffer a little bit of cognitive dissonance where I'm like, man, I don't, I believe that the people who are pleading guilty were getting into shady stuff. I don't know how it ties to the rest of the administration. I just know that everybody but President Trump's going down. So we're okay for now, everyone. The boat's still afloat.
Yeah, we'll see. There's a lot of speculation because, he pleaded guilty as opposed to, I think they were assembling a jury starting like on Monday or something, So this was like basically last minute, like, okay, you know what? You got me dead to rights. He's already been convicted, for, financial crimes and things. So, and now the speculation is, what does he know and what might he tell, prosecutors about Trump and his actual involvement? So,
right.
We'll see.
The justice system to me it's one of those things where, and I won't refute what you're saying. I think there probably is a lot of truth to, him seeing the hammer coming down and being like, well, I better just take what I can get. But, I'm sure people like this too, and I'm not saying this is his case or anybody else's case in that administration, but, people like us, just an everyday person, sometimes people do get caught up in the justice system, and you end up taking a deal for something you didn't do just because that roller coaster of being in that system it's like a machine, it just chews you up. And I don't think that's the case here, but it just kind of got me thinking about that. And I was like, man, that sucks. Because I'm sure there's a lot of people who are in that situation.
One of the reasons they cited is that he, was going to end up having to spend so much money on this other trial, so that there is truth to that. But,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think there's any real debate as to whether or not he's actually guilty of these things. Even, the Trump campaign's not denying that he did, engaged in nefarious activities,
Right.
They're just saying it's got nothing to do with us,
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with, the actual Trump campaign. These things all happened prior to that. But this other case would have been different. It probably would have caused a lot of information to come to light through court proceedings that maybe they don't want to come to light, necessarily. So
just had him fall on the sword?
Yeah, well, yeah, or strike some sort of deal,
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I think he's also hoping for a pardon, so.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Maybe you're right. It's funny that you bring that up because what I have been thinking about this past week is so much more important and deeper than what you have been, what you brought up. I've been thinking about when people post motivational quotes on their Facebook and their Instagram. Like, get over yourself. You're not helping anybody. I mean, I don't understand the purpose of. Do you see it a lot? Because I have a lot of random ads on my Facebook, and so a bunch of people I don't know, and it seems to be I keep adding people that love posting motivational quotes, and you look through their stuff, and you're like, your life's a mess. Who are you trying to motivate?
Hey, it's through that suffering that people gain real wisdom.
Yeah, that is true. As Mother Teresa said, when you're pushed, killing's as easy as breathing. She did say that.
What is that from? I can't remember.
That's from Rambo. I need to start posting motivational quotes, but said by the wrong people. What was that one I sent you the other day?
You sent me one.
The world.
Yeah. Oh,
wait.
By Gandhi.
The world is the problem. The atomic bomb is the answer. Mahatma Gandhi. You know what? Why is pairing a very bad quote with a very good person one of the most hysterical things to do? It's hilarious.
Yeah, especially, in the proper sort of format that makes it sound like it's some deep.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. As as Lindsay Lohan said, it's not about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. Oh, yeah.
Who is that?
That's Rocky Balboa. Dude, the Rocky films are rife with great quotes that you can pull. Yeah. And that kind of goes in with my, what we were talking about last week. What's that called? What's the suicide, physician-assisted suicide?
Yeah.
Yeah, those quotes would go perfectly. The person's laying there on their deathbed waiting for, you to administer whatever lethal way of ending them is. And it's not about how hard you can hit. And what the hell are you talking about? Oh, man. Yeah, that would be...
That's perfect.
Oh, dude, that would be hysterical.
You need to get hard to work on those memes.
Oh, I do. We need to start adding those memes to our Hey, by the way, so our Instagram page is up, correct?
Facebook and Twitter.
Facebook and Twitter, and then you said, "Oh, that's right." We said
Facebook is like an extension of. Instagram's a Facebook, an extension of Facebook. So it's a quick.
Okay,
thing.
Cool. And then so we are having we are going to have a website up soon.
We do have a website up.
Wow, that's I've been really, really following along here.
Andrew's been doing all of the audio, video, technical stuff. So yeah, started the website, which is rvbpodcast.com.
Well, cool.
So
I'll have to
edit that if I'm wrong about it.
I hope it is wrong, and then we just leave it in. That would be hilarious. Well, that's cool, man. I can't wait to check it out. I can't wait to start, putting these shows out. I think right now I feel like we're getting better, just after the first time we recorded. And I think we're going to continue to get better. I think we'll have better material for people, more insightful discussions. But like we spoke about earlier, the show is I guess it's red versus blue, so it's a debate format. But what I was talking to Scott about earlier is that it's not like we come in here uber prepared and we have these counterpoints and going back and forth at each other. It's more opinion guys, and we can have a conversation about it. And yeah, you want to be spun up on issues and knowledgeable about it, but this isn't like your Stanford debate team going at it.
Yeah, it's going to be closer to what you'd expect, around the dinner table at Thanksgiving or something.
Yeah, because that's real world. That's what people get into, and that's what we want to kind of touch on, and hopefully people can hear us not calling each other horrific names, and then they could be like, hey, maybe I can not call someone else horrific names and do it that way. So that'd be kind of exciting to see, it makes some sort of positive impact just from this show. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And Andrew's a pretty funny guy, so it makes it easy not to take him too seriously.
Yeah. Hey, so we have got a caller who would like to be on the show. I guess he wants to talk about gun rights and owning guns. His name is Martin Magnum. Yeah. Did you want to conduct the interview on this one?
Yeah, let me take this one. That sounds interesting. Martin Magnum. Okay.
Yeah, so I have got to go use the restroom, and then I guess I'll listen to this, when I'll listen to this when I post edit the show.
All right, man. Well, I'll talk to you in a little bit then. You'll be back after the interview, right?
Yeah, I'll be back. I don't know how long it's going to take me to use the restroom. I don't really, give myself a time limit.
Exactly the right amount.
I bet you it'll take me 5 minutes and 14 seconds to use the restroom. I would imagine something along those lines.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. That's what I was thinking too. So neat.
Oh, cool. Okay, so I'll see you later, Scott.
Okay. Bye, Andrew.
All right. See you, man.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Martin. Martin Magnum?
What's that now?
Hi, this is Scott Ferguson with Red vs. Blue with Scott and Andrew. How you doing?
Oh, hey, darling, how you doing?
Good. Great, thank you. So, just to kind of, get an idea for where you stand. How would you characterize your relationship with guns?
Look, I grew up around guns. I love a gun like it's a member of my own family. We got a great relationship. I respect guns, and they respect me. I do everything with my gun. I'll go on walks with it, take it to the pool, bathe with it, fall asleep with it. I don't need no damn woman when I've got my trusty burner at my side. What's that now?
Thank you, Martin. Okay, well that's great. So how do you explain the high rate of gun deaths in the United States?
Well, that's pretty simple. Someone points a gun at someone, pulls the trigger, and bam! Another gun death. Oh, no, in all seriousness, though, we need more guns in the hands of Americans. As the old saying goes, a good guy with a gun can blow a hole in the head of some other guy that might not have a gun, but the other guy shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Oh, well, that's shocking.
Yeah, what's that now?
So what's your favorite kind of gun? What's your favorite gun?
Well, let's see. Well, I'm really into shotguns. A shotgun will kill an illegal immigrant faster than a priest starts sweating at a Little League game.
Yeah.
Anyway, I like the Kel-Tec KSG 25. It holds 25 rounds of death in a barrel. If you know what I mean. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know what you mean.
Well, anyway, I'd say my least favorite guns are the ones that women have. Women shouldn't have guns. They're too emotional. Just start shooting at anyone that hurts their feelings. Did you know, and this is a fact, 97% of gun deaths in the past 74 years have been caused by crying women?
I don't know. Where did you get that statistic?
What's that now?
Where did you get that statistic?
Next question.
Okay. Okay, so what do you think about people naming their guns? Do you think that's weird?
No, I love it. I've got a 2-gauge shotgun named Paco. Named him after an illegal alien I shot on my ranch that's located right in the heart of Tampa, Florida. I've also got a 15-millimeter pistol named Darlene, but I'm not going to get into that. What's with the damn Spanish Inquisition anyway? What's all these questions?
You have a 15-millimeter pistol and a 2-gauge shotgun?
What's that now?
How big is a 2-gauge? That seems...
It's pretty big. If you take the circumference of an apple and you divide that by 2, you're not going to be anywhere near the size of that gun.
Well, that's interesting. My dad has a lot of guns.
Right. Hey, this ain't about your dad. This is about me.
Well, what are your favorite things to do with guns?
Well, now. Sometimes, like to get home, lock the doors, close the blinds, then I strip down to my whitey-tighties and put on I'm Every Woman by Whitney Houston. Then I lather myself up in WD-40. And I don't know if I want to get into the rest of this. What's the next question?
The next... do you think the United States deserves more credit for improving access to guns in developing nations?
Absolutely. I think the entire world should be armed to the teeth. I'm tired of the New World Order trying to control the little guy. If every single person on the planet was armed, the world would be a lot safer. I'd go as far as to say we wouldn't have another death ever, and that includes natural causes. I really like when we graciously tried to help those poor Spaniards down in Mexico by giving them a bunch of AK-47s. What the hell? Wasn't that called the Fast and the Fabulous or something like that?
I think you're talking about the Fast and the Furious. It was probably the biggest Obama scandal throughout his presidency that he really didn't even have anything to
What's
do with.
that now?
Oh, nothing. Just, yeah, that was Fast and the Furious.
Oh,
all
right.
What that scandal was called.
All right.
All right, well, should we allow highly trained 3-year-olds to carry concealed weapons in classrooms?
I've been concealed carrying my pistol since I was 3 months old. I shot my first trespasser when I was 9 months old. I'll never forget that man. Whatever his name was, I can't remember. Anyway, well, hell yeah, I think we should. Kids have a really good intuition. If a little tot blasts a Grand Canyon into someone's chest, you can rest assured that was a good killing.
I don't know if you can.
What's that now?
I'm not sure you can rest assured that that was a good killing.
Well, I'll tell you what. What was your name, Steve? I ain't gonna be disrespected on no damn podcast, no TV show that's got less than...
What's wrong? What's... Oh, it sounds like we lost him. Everybody, that was Martin Magnum. I wonder if Andrew's going to be getting back anytime soon.
Oh, hey, Scott. Hey, man.
Oh, hey, did you catch any of that, Andrew?
No, how'd it go?
Oh, well, I don't know. That guy was kind of a whack job.
Was he?
It was interesting. You know, it's good to expose yourself to those, you know, the different perspectives.
Was he a Christian?
I don't know. Actually, I didn't even ask him.
Yeah, I'm sure if he believed in gun rights, he was probably a Christian.
Probably. I think that's pretty good overlap in those, those demographics.
Yeah. So, okay.
Well, I think you're going to enjoy that. It was an interesting interview.
Oh, man, I can't wait to listen to it. That'll be pretty exciting. So, shall we get into the quote-unquote debate?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, sure.
All right. On the topic of healthcare, I fall on the side of free market healthcare, and I imagine you're on the, government-funded, everybody gets free healthcare.
Well, it definitely isn't free.
Well, oh, so you think people should? There's instances where people should pay for their healthcare? For some reason, I thought you believed in free.
Well, you pay in your taxes.
Okay, gotcha.
But it's
like
a
Medicare.
lot more expensive for rich people than it is for poor people.
Mm-hmm.
The current system is a lot more expensive for poor people.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So do you think? How would that work? So how would you adjust the tax code to account for what somebody's making, and then that's how much they pay for health care as well?
Well, the way I would go at it is the very first thing I think that we should do, I alluded to it in our last podcast, is to kind of cap, what anybody's going to be really making. Anything over maybe 10 million in a year,
mm-hmm.
I think ought to be taxed at like 90%. There's no way that they're actually putting that much into the society.
90% from their income?
Yeah.
Wow.
Capital gains, certainly. I think that the corporate tax rate needs to go up, not down. They were already paying like an effective rate of like 21% or something, fairly low.
Mm-hmm.
After you consider all of the loopholes. But I don't know. I just think we have to be honest about how much any one person is contributing to society, as opposed to just leeching from society,
right?
Leveraging everybody else's efforts, and then they use this money to, influence our government officials.
Yeah,
and they're no happier either. So
yeah, well,
I think there's plenty of incentive to say, hey, the first 10 million every year, you get, a reasonable amount of that. Maybe, 1 to 10 million is taxed at like 50% or something like that. But I just think that the more they earn, the more you got to say that's not really yours. There are people who work 60 hours a week and they're dragging along around the poverty line. I don't think that's right.
Yeah. But that also goes into, so you did say that they should, and we are getting a little off healthcare, but it's okay. I think
you asking how I was going to pay for it.
Oh, that's right. That's your first step to getting this to work.
Another thing about this, as far as the money side of it, is that it's going to bring down overall healthcare costs.
Mm-hmm.
We spend around as much as everybody else on government healthcare, and even more than that. In addition to what we spend on government, we spend on private healthcare.
Yeah,
we spend way more than everybody else, and the costs are skyrocketing. As much as Obamacare wasn't single payer, it wasn't what we needed. It did help to stave off that increase in prices.
Mm-hmm.
But he still left all of these middlemen in there, and they're just, we just get one pool, and anybody, it's about how many people do you want negotiating with drug companies and with hospitals for different prices on procedures. If under a single payer system, everybody pays the same for the same procedure. Right now, if you go in, if you're poor, you don't have insurance, you go get a procedure, you get charged on average 4 times as much as somebody on Medicare, because you're in a state of distress. You can't, you don't even know the rules, the facts, that there's any kind of leverage. But if you're, in a giant pool of Medicare recipients, and the doctor the hospital wants all of that, the business that's in that pool, then they have to negotiate. The government can negotiate on your behalf.
Right.
But if it's all by yourself, you get screwed. That's just how it is. So, sorry, I did kind of.
No, that's all right.
What do you think about all that?
I still get stuck on if somebody so if you were to just completely open it up and let open the floodgates and let everybody and their brother, and I know this in theory is cool, but it wouldn't work without some sort of regulation to allow completely free market, so that because right now healthcare companies, I actually am of the opinion that it's not the fault of big pharma causing prices to go up. I think it starts at the hospitals and doctors, because really they can charge whatever the hell whatever they want to charge, and the middleman's gonna pay it, because there's nowhere else to go. There's really not that many options. So I don't think that leaving the onus on people to decide it sounds bad, but I guess decide the fate of them, what hands they're putting themselves in for healthcare. I don't think that's wrong. And so if somebody, and I imagine what you were saying when you said that people go in and they're in a state of distress and they can't think, and they can't, wade through all that crap and figure out.
They might not even be conscious.
Right. Yeah. But why can't they figure that out beforehand? Everybody knows that at some point in your life, you're going to encounter a problem.
So everybody needs to be an expert on all facets of healthcare, of everything that could go wrong with them, and what they are willing to pay for any individual. That's the thing. That's not realistic.
No, that's true. That's not realistic. But you have companies that can take care of that for people. And if you have more of them, there's companies that can charge less to take care of that for people than there are. Because there's companies that do that now, but they charge an arm and a leg for it. But if you were to open it up and stop what I feel like is so much regulation on it, you could allow for a competitive market for a company to say, hey, we understand that you work a full-time job and you have stuff that is important in your life, and not sitting around trying to figure out what best health care is for you. That's where we come in. And there are companies that do that now, but it's extremely expensive. And so if you were to allow competition there, I really feel like people could afford that.
Well, that's great. We agree there. The best way to introduce competition there is by expanding the Medicaid, the pool of Medicaid recipients. Expand Medicaid to everybody. and then that increases the size of the pool that the government has. It boosts the negotiating power of the government on behalf of patients.
But does that take
With
into
respect to drug prices and cost of different procedures, all of it. And these are people who, I mean, this is set in as like policy, as a this is what things cost. If you want to do business with anybody, if you want to get the business of anybody who's enrolled in Medicaid, this is what you have to agree, and it works, like I said, they pay 25%. And of course that's picked up by the government, but they're paying 25% what uninsured people are paying for the same procedures.
What happens when you have a lot of people that don't want to be paying taxes for health care?
Well, that's the thing, is you can't find universal consensus on any issue, really. But it's about majority, and I think that if people knew what was in their own best interests here, if everybody knew, then it would be an overwhelming majority.
That's where I get stuck, though, is you are forcing people to be. I don't know if you can say, because of the majority of Americans want healthcare like this, the people that don't want it are going to be forced to be a part of this pool and pay money into something that they don't want. Now you're forcing someone to, pay
compromise.
Yeah, but it's compromising on something about their life, like their personal. They don't want to pay for that. Some people don't want to pay for that. And granted, that puts them in a bad spot if they ever do get into, a serious medical issue. But that's the choice that they made.
Yeah, well, again, I think it's best to view it in terms like on a macro scale, the total cost and the number of people insured, and there are a lot of cascading effects from lack of health insurance. People do make bad decisions, and that's the thing, is that when we craft our public policies, we have to take into account the decisions that people are likely to make. So I don't know. I think there's always going to be give and take with any kind of democratic system, any kind of communal system at all, any kind of city. You have competing interests, and what better? How else are you going to go about deciding other than majority?
Yeah.
So I don't know. You try it and you see what happens. That's another thing. The whole thing's an experiment.
That is true. I think a lot of people's argument, and I do like that. I mean, you try stuff and see what happens. I have a hard time wrapping my head around, let's make this a law and do it. To me, once something becomes a law, then people have to fight twice as hard to undo it. Just like, you may or may not agree with it, but let's just say, for the sake of an argument, that everybody who wanted to get rid of the ACA wanted to do it because they had, good intentions, they had something better that they were thinking of, but that's why they wanted to get rid of it. Let's just say that, just for sake of the argument. But since it's made a law, it becomes much like the government. You can't just try stuff, I don't think.
Well, that's what we have to do.
How? I know, but
that's our only choice.
Yeah, but I don't understand how the government can just try something. I wouldn't even know how that works. I don't know how they can just try something.
Well, they tried it in Massachusetts when Mitt Romney was the governor. It was basically the same exact plan.
Right.
They were already spending less than the national average, and once they instituted that, more people were they covered an additional 5% or 7% of the population, and then they spent less, and that was against a national trend of increased costs for healthcare. And then we implemented Obamacare, and it helped to stave off, although they're still increasing the increasing prices of healthcare. So it looks like this works. It looks like it works in other countries. They pay a lot less, and everybody's covered per capita. They pay less, and it's not because they use it less.
Now,
we use it We don't use it anymore. We don't use our healthcare any more than anybody else.
So I do agree with that. The only thing I will say, and this is anecdotal, obviously, because I've heard it from people whose parents are expats, people who lived overseas and have health care in other countries that do participate in that type of healthcare system, and that the health care is garbage. It's not anywhere on par with what, a lot of money would have to go in to pay for over here. Like high-level healthcare, that their waiting times are garbage. The condition of the places that you go to receive healthcare is garbage. Now, I know not across the board that's true, but as a whole, from what I've heard, and like I said, I know it's anecdotal, but you can't. I don't think you can completely write off something because it's anecdotal. You can take it with a grain of salt, of course, but I do think that
there are certain things you need to know. What kind of socioeconomic group do they belong to? What kind of healthcare can they afford in the United States? If they could afford, just a bottom barrel plan that doesn't really cover much and it'll cheat you out of all sorts of things that you thought you had, then it's not so great. But if you got a lot of money and you can afford to pay the extra and everything like that, then you got really great health care here, even though not necessarily.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But we pay more for everything. Way more, sometimes twice as much for the same exact procedure. So I don't know. I think there's a lot to be gained in a lot of societal gains in having a larger percentage of the population covered. You might think that it doesn't affect you, that other people don't have health insurance. But then you yourself said that you don't think that we should refuse people in the emergency room.
No, yeah, I do not. So
we do. We pay for these people no matter what because I don't know why. It depends on the person. I just
what was that?
I don't want people to be refused at the hospital either.
Yeah.
So we got to find the best way to do this. Preventative medicine is a lot cheaper than emergency room visits.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with that. I still think I would have to see, this is where, you can have opinions and it's okay.
For sure.
But to go along with outlandish ideas, not that yours is, but I think mine almost might be an outlandish idea to basically put the onus on, on figuring out what you need, if you're going to pay for it or not, and doing the legwork to find the company that's going to give you a good price to pick your health care for you. I think that in my head, I'm like, okay, yeah, this would work. I do understand that there's a lot more that would go into it than just having a wallet with some money in it, and then you pay a company to figure out your health care, and then boom, it's done. But I do think that putting everybody in a pool, just like we were saying earlier, and that's where I get stuck, is putting everybody in a pool, and so somebody has to, people have to compromise, which really they're helping to pay for someone else's health care. I don't know if I would have to put together my own plan, which I probably never will, of my own idea on how it should work. But I just don't, for some reason, I cannot get my mind wrapped around paying for someone else's health care.
Well, you pay for other people's, their children's educations.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
Huh.
I do think everybody should have a good education, but I don't like paying for it. I'm not gonna.
There's just some things that the government is better at. Even if somebody does what you say that maybe they ought to do, even though it is kind of crazy that they could look into all of the different cases of things that could happen to them, and that's a lot to ask. But then on top of that, they don't have nearly the bargaining power that the government has in a pool of millions and millions of people.
Right.
Say, if you don't accept these prices, you don't get any of these, their hands become tied at that point. And my wife's a doctor. So, under this kind of plan, she would make less money, and that's a concern, obviously. But, I think pretty sure we both agree that single payer healthcare is the best thing for the country as a whole.
You guys would go from making $2 million a year to $42,000 a year. That's what you would go to under your plan, trying to ruin America.
You caught me.
Yeah, that's what it was all about. All right. So on the topic of gun rights, where do you sit, Scott?
Well, I think, the best place to start is to, acknowledge that you got to draw the line somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
We can't just because you can invent it doesn't mean we should let anybody have it just because they have enough money.
Yeah.
So no nukes, obviously. I think we've established that.
Yeah, I did say, not an every man should have a nuke.
Only truly highly trained 3-year-olds.
Right. 3-year-olds that have been trained on the range. I cannot believe that there were guys that bought into it. What was that show called?
Who is America?
Who is America?
I sent Andrew a clip of the gun rights one.
Oh, man, that was horrific.
Yeah.
Now, although I do think you're right. You should draw the line somewhere. I shouldn't have a Moab. I shouldn't, or the mother of all bombs for people that don't know what that is. I shouldn't have a nuke. I should, however, be allowed to obtain a rocket launcher, a 50 caliber machine gun. I should be able to have automatic weapons. Basically, I should be able to have massively destructive weapons that I'm not gonna say, just in case the government.
Okay, that was gonna be my question. Why should we be able to?
Because it's my damn life. I want whatever guns I want.
But it's not just your life. It's
it is
everybody's life.
But I'm not a psycho.
What would have happened in Las Vegas if that guy, he had some pretty devastating firepower, but what if he had rocket launchers too? That would have been crazy,
Yeah.
And for what? Why? If it's not for security, what are we talking about?
You know how I just don't. That doesn't matter to me. I mean, if you want it, you should be able to get it.
But people want nukes, so there's obviously
we already drew the line at nukes.
There.
We drew the line at nukes, so we said no. It doesn't matter if you want a nuke, you can't have a nuke.
But why?
Why can you not have a nuke?
Yeah,
just because of the massive amount of the death toll that would occur from that.
So we got to kind of quantify the potential death tolls of these different weapons, and then we can come down to the number of lives that are equivalent to the coolness of having big guns.
If you can level a city with the weapon, you shouldn't be able to have it. If you can level a neighborhood, you shouldn't have it. But if you can, if what you have can destroy a house or something like that, then yeah, you should be able to have it. And granted, I do think there should be vetting. Vetting for that.
Because before you said no kinds of.
I was being an idiot. I was
checks.
Kidding. Yeah.
Okay, but so then, do you think that they should be background checks for pistols?
No.
So at what point do they need to be checked?
Automatic weapons and explosives. So anything below that, there shouldn't be a background check for. Automatic weapons and explosives.
Well, okay. All right. So it's not really, I guess it's just so much about personal freedom to do what you want.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, because if you can take out a house, I mean, you could just think about the terror that you can inflict on people. Yeah. Because that's not. I don't know. I have I definitely understand the argument about personal self-defense, especially in cases of women.
Yeah, for sure.
They're at such a disadvantage.
Yeah. So you said you definitely understand for self-defense purposes and for women because they're physically at a disadvantage. Granted, I guarantee you some woman's going to hear this podcast and think that you're sexist,
Probably,
because they can do everything a man can do.
Women and weak men.
Right. I need a gun. I'm very weak. I struggled to pick up this cup to take a sip of my V8 juice.
Yeah. No, I think there are legitimate concerns there where when you're already in a society where all of these guns exist, to tell somebody that they can't even have a basic sidearm.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I do think that goes too far. I own an assault rifle. You know, it's semi-automatic. It's called a CAR-A3.
Mm-hmm.
It's got like a bipod and a scope and everything. It's pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that it is, devastating enough, even just as a 223 round.
Yeah.
Like that kind of weapon is what scares people, like the what was it, Parkland? How that sheriff's deputy was out there and didn't go in because they're afraid, and they, we got all these police accidents where they shoot somebody because they had a phone in their hand.
Yeah.
That I think is part of living in a culture where guns are everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And if they weren't everywhere, cops would be less inclined to kill people who just have cell phones.
Yeah.
And they'd be more inclined to rush into schools to save children.
Yeah, but the problem with that is they're already everywhere. They will not ever be not everywhere.
That's not necessarily not true. Buyback programs have been really, like in Australia,
mm-hmm.
they had 13 mass shootings over the 18 years prior to 1996. And they instituted an assault weapons ban or a buyback. I guess it was probably in conjunction with a ban.
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't had a single mass shooting since 1996.
I mean, that's a big deal. There's no way in hell that would ever happen here. No way. I just don't think that's possible. There's no way people would, give up their gun. I'm sure there's a small amount of people that would, but the majority of Americans, I think people would say, they'd be like, oh yeah, I'd be willing to for the children. No way. No way people would give up their guns.
Mm-hmm. I think in a lot of cases you're right. A lot of people definitely would not.
Mm-hmm.
But they're also not going to give them away to the next generation of potential gun buyers who won't be able to buy them themselves.
What do you mean not gonna? You mean like that people won't?
Yeah, I mean if they're going to be holding on to their guns, they're going to be holding on to them. And if they're law-abiding like most people are, and almost 2/3 of gun deaths are suicides,
mm-hmm.
then I don't think we have that much. But if we keep the next generation from buying guns, from just having them available at any gun show, whatever you want, I think that over time it makes a big difference. And you offer the buyback program in a time where people don't have that much money. Despite the stock market, people still don't have much purchasing power.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, that could. I guess I could see that. I don't want to say the word working, but I guess I could see it like working out in the way that you see it. I guess I could see that, working out that way, but it would be the amount of time that I feel like it would take I feel like that would be hundreds of years before it fully came to fruition. And in between that time, you'd still see a ton of mass shootings. I don't think mass shootings have anything to do with guns. Granted, they allow them to happen, but I think mass shootings happen because people are broken and sick.
Yeah, but people are no more broken and sick in the United States. The crime rate in general isn't any higher here, but the death rate, in associated with violent crime is staggeringly high compared to every other civilized country or every other established nation.
Yeah.
So it's because there's the same amount of crime, same amount of messed up people, but crime is more lethal because there are guns everywhere.
Yeah, and it's the price you pay for that freedom to have them, which I don't think we should ever give up. Now, I will say this: I'm not going to be one of those. I'm definitely not one of those guys. I need my guns because the government's coming after me. But I will say that people can. I know you don't. It does. It comes across as ridiculous. I know you, but 'cause even I hear it as being kind of ridiculous when people go on those tirades. But you can't say that that's never happened, because it has happened. And
but could it happen?
Could it?
That's the question.
Yes, it could happen. It could happen.
Wait, that the people overthrow the United States military?
No. That's a totally different debate too. I don't think it would work out that way. I don't think the military, if it got to that point, I don't think the military would follow through with a government order to, to quarantine the American people and take their weapons. I just don't think that would happen.
Mm-mm. And if it did, they would win.
Yes, correct. Yeah, absolutely, they would win. But people are like, yeah, because you can't fight against jets and stuff like that. But I also don't think they would be bombing cities, because they got to keep that stuff intact, for tactical abilities and everything like that. So it just
wouldn't. Commerce,
right? And
money.
And look at how you basically are saying you guys wouldn't stand a chance against the military. That's true, but it wouldn't be toe to toe anything like that. Well, look at how wonderfully we're doing in Afghanistan. Look how great we did against little patches of people in Vietnam. I mean, we got our asses kicked.
Right, but is that what we want our country to turn into?
No, I'm just saying all I'm saying, and I know you don't do this, but all I'm saying is for people to completely laugh off people who say that that's a possibility. I'm not saying it would happen. I'm just saying it could happen.
It could.
So for people to just kind of no, me neither. But for people to dismiss, like right wingers or anything for saying no, I think people should have guns for protection. It doesn't matter to me if they think it's protection for self-defense or protection from a tyrannical government. I don't care what they want their protection for. I think they should have it. So,
but you can still laugh at people.
Yeah, you can laugh at people, but I do feel like laughing off people and dismissing them for their quote-unquote crazy views is a little, I feel like it's a little closed-minded.
Well, it's not the best way to argue.
Right. No, it's not. And that's probably why I'm probably one of the greatest debaters of all time, because of my ability to see where people are coming from. Now, with that being said, I won that argument, so we will go to the next section of the show. I think I got 49 points in that one.
So it's 49-64.
Well, no, that was 49 on top of the 1,072 I got from the last show. Okay, so we will now move into Scott's new section of the show that we'll be doing each week, which we're very excited about. And now, introducing Philosophy with Scott Ferguson. With Scott Ferguson.
I think we're going to call it Getting Philosophical with Scott Ferguson.
Yeah, that's perfect. So how's this work, Scott? How's this going to work from here on out?
I'm just going to present, some kind of different, just moral dilemmas and interesting things, hypothetical situations that I was introduced to when I studied philosophy. Mm-hmm. When I got out of the Marines, I studied philosophy, and I've been interested ever since. So I thought that would be a fun thing to include. So this week's moral dilemma. Okay, I'll just ask you, Andrew.
Okay.
So you're standing on a platform. Right, mm-hmm. And you've got a trolley car on your left, and then on your right, you've got 5 people standing on the tracks, but then where there was there's like a switch in the tracks, mm-hmm. Right? So there's a fork, and you see that this trolley car is headed. It's going to kill these 5 people. It's going to kill them no matter what. There's no what if, nothing like that.
Okay.
But you're standing right next to a switch. You just flip that switch, and it would just go off and only kill that one person.
Oh.
Do you flip the switch?
Okay, so on the left of me, There's the, I don't know why I'm getting.
Car.
Okay, so there's the trolley car.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it's a trolley car. It's headed for 5 people. You can flip a switch so it only kills 1 person.
Or I can leave it and let it kill the
or
5.
You can leave it and just keep your hands out.
And these are all these people all have equal standing in the eyes of society. Okay.
Right.
Is the one person white? I'm just kidding. Let's see. Whew. Man, there's so many variables, but I will take it as black and white, just one person versus 5. I would flip the switch and kill the 1.
All right. About 90% agree with you.
Oh, really?
They would do the same thing.
90%? Yeah.
About 90%.
How did you already get
No, sorry, nothing. I'm not about to do that.
Yeah. So 10% would just let happen what was going to happen.
Right. Keep their hands clean.
Right. Yeah, what the hell? No.
Okay, but now we got to change it up. We got to make it a little bit more interesting. Okay.
So the person is white.
Right. So instead of having a fork in the tracks, you've got the trolley cars. It's just on one track. It's going to kill these 5 people. But, you're standing on the platform right next to a very fat man or woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if for sure, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you push, you have the ability, if you just push this fat person in front of the car, it will stop. It will prevent it from killing these 5 people.
Yeah.
So do you push the fat person off the platform?
Yes.
Okay, so only about 10% of the people would do that.
Wow. And I was so quick to answer it, too.
But it's, that's essentially utilitarianism, consequentialism. What are the end results here?
Yeah.
What's the calculus of suffering versus happiness, whatever, and it makes sense, but most people they don't like getting their own hands dirty. That feels like murder. It doesn't feel like saving lives.
Oh,
10% of the people think that just flipping that switch, just having any kind of impact at all, makes them culpable. That seems silly to me. But at the same time, I'm with the 90%. I wouldn't probably be able to push the fat person off the.
You wouldn't.
And no, I don't think so. No, even if and I forgot to you don't get in trouble for it. This is just.
That's right.
But it's tough.
I don't.
So, but it just lays bare the weirdness of our moral reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it shows that this black and white version of if it's wrong, it's always wrong. If it's right, it's always right. I don't believe that. I think this is an interesting way to kind of illustrate why.
That's really cool. What does that say about, and this is an honest question, what does that say about me that I'm in a very small percentage on the second scenario? What does that say? Nothing?
It just means that that's how that you used a particular approach to solving that moral dilemma.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't mean you're wrong. We got to have a conversation about it.
Mm-hmm.
What's important here?
Right.
But to just say it's right because that's because it's most people don't put that much thought into right and wrong actions.
Mm-hmm.
It seems most of it it's just innate in us.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of tease out these weird aspects of it, with kind of interesting thought experiments. And so I'll be posing something like that every podcast. So
that was awesome.
Getting philosophical with Scott Ferguson.
Dude, yeah, I loved that. That's very interesting to me because I don't really think about stuff like that. That kind of stuff is really cool. I think tomorrow in the newspaper it will say, September 15th, breaking news: Andrew hates fat people.
Well, that's what we really want here, is to drive both extremes.
Right. We want
hard as possible.
We want to, pose questions as a, hey, there's no wrong answer here, to extrapolate a small bit of information and take it out of context and post it as a headline on our Facebook. Andrew hates fat people. Please chime in.
Yeah. No, you said something actually in the first episode. I shouldn't bring it up because I can't remember what you said, but there'll be all sorts of great things that we can pull out and just leave them by themselves.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I think that'll be hilarious.
Because context is overrated, really.
Who needs context? Right. All you have to do is pull a really cool quote that Gandhi said or Mother Teresa said and let the world know it. So anyway, that pretty much wraps up the show. We can, got a couple minutes here to talk about anything. Is there anything else pressing on your mind?
Well, I guess we could plug tomorrow's guest again, since he's performing down here in San Diego. He lives in Hollywood. Brian Simpson. BS with Brian Simpson is his podcast. His Twitter handle is @shortwideneck. And he's actually going to be, he was really good friends with me and Andrew in the Marines. Still is. Mm-hmm. We still keep in touch and everything. But he's performing down here in San Diego. And then tomorrow he'll be with us as our first special guest in episode 3 of Red vs. Blue with Scott and Andrew.
Man, that's going to be exciting. Do you think Brian is going to be high as a kite when he's on our show?
No question.
Yeah, that's true. Remember, he did smoke all of the weed in Oregon, and that's why he had to leave.
Actually, no, that's impossible.
Yeah, he smoked the last one. Dude, yeah, I'm really excited for that. And like we said at the last one, Brian's a deep thinker. He's smart. Of course, he and I probably disagree way more than you and him, or maybe even you and I. I would venture to you, and maybe even more than you and I. But I'm really excited for that. And that is it for us today on this show. I think it was a good show. What'd you think, Scott?
It was awesome. I'm really looking forward to continuing to do this every week.
Yeah,
this is great.
I can't wait to get better at it too. That's gonna be good.
Nah, it's okay. It's better when I just mop the floor with you like I did today.
You're breaking up over there, Scott. I can't hear you. Yeah. So once again, this is Red vs. Blue with Scott and Andrew. Next week, Brian Simpson. BS with Brian Simpson is his podcast. @shortwideneck. Is that right? Is his Twitter handle. He's going to be on next week. We discussing, and he's going to take part in the debate, so that's pretty exciting. I'm sure it'll be Scott and Brian against I. I'm going to start using that all the time. But yeah, man, I'm super stoked about this. If you listen to our first one and you listen to this one, thank you very much for joining us, and please join us again next week for episode 3.